Hello, my name is Jennifer Shlomovich, and I am a vegan confidence coach. I specialize in helping vegans eliminate people-pleasing so they can confidently be themselves and navigate the challenges of having a lifestyle different from the people around them. Here on my channel, The Confident Vegan, I share a variety of supportive resources, including inspiring interviews and recipe videos. Today, my special guest is Ania, who is a certified vegan and food suitability consultant with credentials from Cornell University, Winchester University, and the International Sports Sciences Association. With 4 years of experience conducting vegan and gluten-free cooking classes, she collaborates with restaurants, cafes, and hotels to introduce and refine their plant-based options, ensuring they meet both nutritional standards and sustainability goals. Ania's expertise extends to menu engineering that reduces carbon footprints, conserves water, and protects land resources. Her passion for making Southeast Asia more plant-based drives her work from launching Culinova Consulting, a one-stop solution for those seeking healthier diets, to speaking at international events like the Plant-Based Expo in London, Singapore Vegan Festival, Malaysian Vegan Festival, and the Vegan Travel Summit and Conscious Festival. Her consulting work has significantly impacted the success of plant-based menus across various restaurants, including Italian, Thai, and Persian establishments. Ania's collaboration with Grand Hyatt Hotel in Malaysia at the Veganuary campaign is a notable achievement. She also works with Global Doctors Hospital in Mont Chiara, advising patients with diabetes and cardiovascular disease on dietary changes. Her workshops have been featured by prominent organizations such as Facebook, Deutsche Bank, and Under Armour, as well as in media outlets like Straits Times Singapore, Expat Living, and The Sun Malaysia. Welcome, Ania.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Thank you very much for having me, for this invite, and for the chance to showcasing plant-based from Malaysia, because I think it's very important here to show people that this is that they are not alone. Because I think that the whole plant-based movement, it's not as vibrant, it's not as big as in US or in Europe. So I'm always happy to showcasing that something is happening here in a plant-based scene.
That's really great. Yeah, it's true. Veganism at one point was not very popular in Europe or America, and now it's really, really huge. So it sounds like you're part of the pioneer group who's leading that change over in Malaysia. So that's really great. Yeah, so it's really nice having you here. I'm so glad we connected a few weeks ago. And the first question I ask my guests is, what is your vegan story?
My vegan story started now probably 6 years ago, and that started with my vegan hero. It didn't change till today. It's Deliciously Ella, a British food blogger, and she convinced me that vegan is possible. In my family, I had breast cancer. My grandmother had it. My mother had it. So when I turned 30 years old, I started to think and to look how I can prevent cancer. I was lucky enough that I didn't have it, but it was always back of my mind that it's something what is happening in my family. And then whole food plant-based diets came in many different resources. But when I read about it, about fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, I was thinking like, no, I cannot go like this, just eating salads and Buddha bowls every single day. And I discovered Deliciously Ella. I do remember her recipe, the first recipe I ever made, sweet potato brownies, which are absolutely amazing. It really changed the way I was thinking about the food. It changed the way I was thinking about a vegan diet, and then I just was inspired to look for more resources and then learn how to cook in this new way. And I was vegetarian. Maybe I should say that although I was vegetarian for more than 20 years before I turned vegan, this transition still wasn't easy. It did not happen overnight. I think it took me about 6 months to completely get rid of all the, especially cheese cravings.
Yeah, cheese is the hardest thing. I think that all of us have a hard time giving up. Yeah, it took me like 2 years to fully transition through a vegan diet. It started off with a dairy sensitivity and looking up dairy-free recipes, and I found a lot of vegan recipes. And then I discovered whole food plant-based and forks over knives. And there's diabetes and heart disease in my family, and I wanted to start implementing good habits to prevent that. And so I started using that as like a baseline for me to like follow like 80% of the time, just to, cut out the oils and because and just yeah, eat really healthy and then have the vegan treats when I want to have the vegan treats. But I really do uh like whole food plant-based a lot. It's actually not boring food at all. There's a lot of creative things that you can do. Like you said, sweet potato brownies and other just uses of spices that I never ever used before. So it really taught me a lot about eating healthy food that's really delicious.
Yes, because when you think about different cuisines of the world, it's not the meat which defines them. When you close your eyes and you think about Italian food, is the basil. When you think about Indian food, it will be garam masala, the Indian mix of Indian spices. When you think about Arabic food and za'atar, these are all flavors which define those different cuisines, which gives the flavors. It's not piece of chicken in a curry, which gives this amazing flavor.
Right. And there's things that you can do with plant-based products like tofu or mushrooms, for example, that can have a similar texture to the meat. And then you incorporate those spices and sauces, and it can be a really close, a very close, oh my God, my brain's just blanking. It can taste really close to it. It's early morning here where I am. So. But it could be a really great substitute. That's the word I'm looking for, substitute. I've seen recipes, for example, making shawarma using mushrooms and roasting the mushrooms in a way where it gives it that meaty texture. And then you have the spices on it because that's what really gives shawarma the taste, right? The flavor. It's not the spices are
Yes.
in, but it's the actual spices. So yeah, if you put a good spice blend on it, then it's delicious.
It's all about, I always believe it all comes to the skills of the chef. And
Yeah,
if the chef say that they cannot make vegan food, well, it's not a good chef.
that's a very good point. Yeah, because you should know how to cook vegetables,
Yes,
right? And
yes.
do creative things with them.
It's not a rocket science to throw a steak on a frying pan and charge, well, wherever you are in the world, $50, $100 for that. But to make something out of potato, that takes the skills and creativity.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we met a few weeks ago, you told me that you consider yourself a selfish vegan. Can you share a little bit more about what you mean by that?
I am the only child, so maybe it's also when I consider veganism. I mean, obviously, I heard before about people promoting plant-based vegan diet because of ethical reasons, to save the animals, to save the planet. But that was not enough for me to give up my favorite cheese, which that time was the ultimate pleasure of the being vegetarian to me, that everything was built around the cheese. But when I started to read about the nutritional side and the health benefits, I quickly discovered that this is the best for me. That if I put myself in the center, not thinking about planet, not thinking animals, I'm still getting the same conclusion that this is actually the best way of eating as of current nutritional science. So I think that it might be overwhelming for some people to hear that it takes so much compassion to be vegan, and I am a great example that you don't have to be compassionate. You don't have to be sensitive, you can still be a very, very selfish person, which I think human naturally we are, and you still will reach that vegan plant-based diet is the best what you can do for yourself.
I'm so glad you brought this up because there's a big debate in the vegan community amongst vegans, right? Like there are vegans who will shame other vegans for choosing to be vegan for health reasons versus for the animals. And I've always thought that whatever your beliefs and reasoning for being vegan is personal to that individual, and it's still all doing the same benefit. So by you choosing to be vegan for health reasons, it's still benefiting animals and the planet. It's just that that's your why, that's your focus.
Yes.
And whatever somebody's why is for being vegan, it's all good. It's all important. We're all doing the same thing, whatever the reasons are. So I feel like there shouldn't be all this shaming and vilifying out there of what other people's choices are.
No, absolutely. I agree with you that I still think with age we get wiser, and a lot of people will probably age of 40, 50, or even later start to consider health when choosing their diet.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. We can reach the same conclusion coming from very different angles.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm really glad that you shared that because I think it's just an important thing for people to consider that whatever your reason is, it's not wrong. It's whatever's right for you, and it's still having the same effect. So yeah, so no, that's a really good point. And we were talking about whole food plant-based before. So what are some of the health benefits of whole food plant-based eating for anyone who's listening who's not familiar with it?
So I think the one which is the most exciting for me, which I always start, there's a link about longevity and a plant-based diet. They are Norwegian studies, which shows that the earlier we implement and not even strictly vegan diet, just mostly plant-based. I think they were taking as a baseline about 80% plant-based eating. Uh, People can extend the life by 12 years, those who start age of 20, but they even did the studies that if age of 60 years old, so pretty, maybe not late, that's the wrong word, later in your life, if you start to go mostly plant-based, you can still extend your lifespan by a few years. And I find it the most exciting because people, there are so many inventions which are around about extending our life, and it's actually very simple. It's very basic. It doesn't require $1 million investment. It doesn't require any deep nutritional, any deep knowledge of science. It doesn't require any procedures. Is just eat mostly plant-based. And I still emphasize on mostly. You even don't have to be 100% vegan to enjoy the benefits. So this is the most exciting for me. And obviously the cardiovascular diseases, that's about a 25% reduction in a risk of that. Uh, I'm based in Malaysia, and here diabetes is probably the biggest issue which Malaysians are facing.
Mm.
So whole food plant-based diet can also tackle or even reverse diabetes type 2 if it's properly implemented. So I think this is very exciting that you can even reverse a disease with just healthy eating.
Absolutely. And yes, there are sometimes diseases out there where people, because I've heard this debate too, it's not to replace any medical treatment if someone needs it, but why not do something that can help you prevent things? And if you are dealing with a chronic illness, if you change your diet and eat quality food, that's going to help your healing process. That can help you eventually rid whatever it is, or maybe put it in a place where it's much more manageable. So the food that we put in our body can help us prevent things. It can help heal us. It can help put things in a much better situation for our bodies by just eating that quality food. And what I've learned a lot about whole food plant-based is, because people sometimes talk about how there's like sugar in fruits, but there's fiber attached. So when you eat that fruit, you're having the fiber. And the same thing with beans and legumes. There's a lot of healthy nutrients that your body is getting that you're not going to get from animal products, because the food that grows in plant form has a lot of nutrients. So if you eat the colors of the rainbow on your plate, you're going to have that variety of nutrients in your body.
Fiber, I think it's one of the most underrated superfood, which you can find everywhere in any cuisine, different parts of the world, in different fruit, vegetables. And people don't appreciate it, that the fiber can be a key when fighting diabetes type 2, certain type of cancers, and it's so easy available.
And it's also good for the gut health too, because when we
Yes.
take care of our microbiome, that's also like a barrier for illness, is when we have a healthier digestive system, it then has a ripple effect of everything else, including also, colon cancer is a big concern, and eating a heavy meat diet can contribute to that. So again, eating mostly plants, as you were saying, can help minimize, reduce, prevent so many different things. So yeah, it's a really, I feel like, and again, and I like what you brought up, because someone listening who's maybe doesn't want to completely go vegan, if you can just, and this is something that with people that I work with, it's about progress and not perfection. So if you're eating more plants, and start small too. I think sometimes we feel like we have to do all or nothing. And, start with breakfast, right? Start with one meal. And then after a week, switch to lunch, and then incorporate dinner, and then snacks, whatever. Just start small. And whatever progress you make, it's going to have a lot of health benefits. I think the other thing too that I loved about whole food plant-based eating when I discovered it is I love sweets and desserts. And like you were mentioning, the sweet potato brownies, you can make desserts out of much healthier ingredients, like using unsweetened applesauce for oil and muffins and certain cakes. And it tastes really good. And so you don't need fats and oils and eggs and butter to make desserts that are actually much better for you. So I think that was one of the other things
The
that
dessert actually can be nutritious. It doesn't have to be empty calorie like a donut, although
right.
vegan donuts are also not particularly healthy. But when you think about it, the dessert can also provide protein, fiber, iron, calcium. Like on Sunday, I baked a tofu cheesecake, which was
Mm.
just mostly tofu with a lot of orange lemon juice, bit of maple syrup, and shredded coconut. And it was baked for and sorry, and on the top there were like sweet frozen cherries. So that was full of protein. Probably if you compare it protein wise, it's more than some sort of pasta dish. And it was dessert. It was sweet with a maple syrup, with a coconut, uh, like a cake, like a cheesecake.
Yeah, and it's also much better on the, like when I used to eat dairy cheesecake, it used to be very heavy on my stomach. And tofu cheesecake is much lighter. I've gone to vegan restaurants with non-vegan friends and have ordered tofu cheesecake, and they're always surprised at how good it is, and how it's not like so heavy in the stomach like when you're eating dairy cheesecake. So yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. You can eat something and maybe even the ingredients aren't perfect, but it's better. Like I've seen donuts that are, the ingredients are better than like a regular donut. So again, maybe not perfect, but at least it's better than if you were to buy something else that was
Yes.
out. So you've been working in vegan hospitality and consulting. What inspired you to get into that?
I think when I work with a lot of individual customers, they felt confident, or at least almost there, that they can implement vegan options at home because it's easy. Yes, you cook everything, you are in a total control. But when you're going outside, that's a very different story. And that's, I think, why a lot of people decide they didn't make a transition to plant-based diet. I see what is in Europe. I saw what is in some big places in US. In Asia, it's slightly different. It's not always easy to find vegan options. So here in Malaysia, for example, even if you see stir-fry broccoli, they will be very often with a shrimp paste. There will be in some Indian dishes, there will be ghee, the clarified butter, which is hidden. Again, you don't see it. You actually have to have a conversation with the chef, with the servers, the whole investigation. So I think I can make a change in more people's life through working with a hospitality, with restaurants, with hotels, with cafes, with catering companies, than working with one-on-one. And also being a bit selfish as me, I want to see for myself more vegan food. I don't want to go to the same 5 or 6 restaurants which I know and tested and they're great, but I do want to try Mexican, Korean, Indian, and sometimes in order this to happen, I have to work on that myself. This was Grand Hyatt Hotel vegan afternoon tea. I did it because I wanted to have a vegan afternoon tea, and nobody will make vegan afternoon tea for me, just for myself, because you have to bake all the cakes, prepare all the desserts. But when I collaborated with Veganuary and we managed to arrange a big group, suddenly for the big hotel, that's an interesting proposal. Yes, this vegan afternoon tea suddenly was like, oh, that's interesting for us. But if I come myself as a single customer, it's not very interesting for them to prepare a vegan afternoon tea for myself. So that is a bit of the selfish reason.
Yeah, well, of course, because any business, especially when they want to make a change and they're not sure if it's going to be profitable because they have to invest money and time in that change, when you have a group, then that gives them some more incentive to want to try it out. So how did that afternoon tea go? I would love to go to a vegan afternoon tea.
It was absolutely amazing. I mean, I think what I found the biggest success, that 80% of participants, they were meat eaters. They were just curious.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what I always aiming for, to not only have this exclusive vegan club, but to be more inclusive and invite anyone. It was I advertised it in one of the tourist groups. So one of the gentlemen, he came and he actually didn't realize that he purchased a ticket for the vegan afternoon tea. And I explained him because I spoke to him before and he was not very happy before, but he came to me after. He said, look, I'm surprised. I never tried the vegan cake. He didn't expect there can be a vegan whipped cream
Mm-hmm.
from made from coconut milk. And he said it was as good as any cakes, any sweets anywhere else, and he did not expect it. So I think
That's
that's a
great.
success.
And I think that's the best thing is when people can actually try and see for themselves. I feel like
Yeah,
dessert is especially the best way to get someone to
the
try
easiest.
vegan, especially someone who's resistant to it, because there's a lot of preconceived notions about what vegan means. So I think it's great what you did because you're showing others what is possible out there, that you don't need to have animal products to have the same delicious treats that you like having. And in fact, your delicious treats can be a little bit healthier for you.
Yes, the uh, desserts are the easiest. I agree, because once you see them, they look the same. When you look at vegan cheese, vegan meat, they look different. People get an idea straight away. But when you
Mm-hmm.
look at the vegan brownies, we had the dessert with a whipped cream on the top, like a single serve dessert. It looks like any other sweets. Nobody can
Yeah.
can judge just by looking at that. So I think they are the easiest.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. Getting, making desserts and having people to try that. And what are some of the benefits for restaurants to include more vegan options on their menu?
I think what is really important for the restaurants here I cannot. I know that the number of vegans here in Southeast Asia, it's not as big as would be in US, in Europe, but there is still a way when they're introducing vegan options can help them to increase the profits, which probably is the main reason people running the restaurants. And this happens, first of all, vegan options very often are lead magnet for the big group. So I am the only the only one vegan in my very close social circle. There is, let's say, 8 of us. 7 of them will leave up to me to find a restaurant where they are not particularly picky where they're going to eat, but I will look for the place which has some vegan options to me.
Mhm.
So if you look at the sales on that day, yes, there was only one vegan option and 7 people had meat and fish. But without me, there wouldn't be a group of 8. And I always explain that sometimes you cannot judge vegan dishes just by the number of portions which you sell. The same as anywhere in the world, because vegan options do work as a lead magnet for the big groups. So if you will not get a sales for 20 people, just because you serve one vegan, I think that's still a very successful vegan menu, even if you didn't sell it as much. So obviously that's the first way is I think they can increase the profit. If the chef is slightly more skilled, the profit margins that they can go higher because vegan ingredients are cheaper. Chickpeas is cheaper than chicken. So if you make a curry, chickpea curry, you can sell it for almost the same price as a chicken curry, but your cost is much lower. So your margin is just growing higher. The same, I just noticed here that, for example, plant-based creams for making a whipped cream is cheaper than a regular dairy. So again, you just replace it and you charge the same amount for the dessert, and your profits are just higher. So sometimes it's worth to look at the cost of ingredients. And also, I think is the PR. It's to show that you are very forward. You're thinking about a big picture like sustainability, which maybe does not affect yet choices of many diners in a restaurant. But for the hotels, it's slightly more important when they have a corporate clients, which have a lot of banks, a lot of financial institutions. They have a sustainability as a core value. And I believe you cannot just serve a fried chicken if you host lunch for the big financial company which praising sustainability. You have to show them that yes, we actually can also we share the same values, we share the same ethos, and we believe in sustainability, and you cannot have a sustainable menu without any plant-based options. That's just by numbers. If you start to sit and calculate a carbon footprint emission, you cannot achieve it.
Those are all very good points. And just to circle back to more inclusive eating, yeah, there's been times where I've gone, I'm like the only vegan in my my local friend circle. And there's been times where one time we went to a restaurant where because anytime I go out with friends, we always look at the menu in advance to see what they have.
Of
And
course.
they had on their online menu had a harvest salad. So I was like, okay, at least there's one thing I can eat. So we get to this place, and apparently they no longer have the harvest salad. It was a seasonal item, but they didn't update it on their website. And there was literally nothing I could eat except for some fries that were like overly salty. And we ended up leaving. Like we had a drink and we left. And that was 3 other people, my husband and our friends that not vegan, but they left and didn't give them business because they needed to go someplace that was more inclusive. So it's, I think, a very important part for restaurants to consider, and it doesn't cost much to have it. And you can even have some items that are exchangeable. there's a pizza place. There's an Italian restaurant that makes like the brick oven pizzas. They'll make personalized pizzas, and they have vegetables and all the different things you can pick, but they also have vegan cheese. And so it doesn't, and they charge an extra $2 for the vegan cheese. And a vegan's going to pay the extra $2 if they want the vegan cheese. But it doesn't really take away from because they still have all the vegetable toppings. They still have the meat toppings if someone not vegan wants to make their pizza, but they just have one extra investment of vegan cheese and they get to charge an extra $2 for it. So there's a lot of benefits when finding ways to just include some vegan options for people.
No, it is very easy. I don't know. Do you have it's a British chain, Wagamama, which I think it's a European Asian or modern Asian.
I've heard of them, but I've never been to them, but I've heard of Wagamama, yes.
So I would use them as an example how to build any menu, because they are absolutely not purely vegan, but almost every dish, they start with vegan and then you have an extra for chicken or other meat. I'm not even sure what sort of meat they serve them for fried egg. So the base sauces, they make it vegan, the pad thai, the lot of curry, it's vegan. And then you just pay extra if you want chicken versus tofu. It's so, the way they construct the entire menu, I think it's very clever. And a lot of restaurants just should look at that, because I still think it increased the profit, because they actually charge you extra for any meat or I think for prawns. So I use it as an example for any restaurant I'm working with. I say, look how you can how you can engineer the regular menu.
That's a really great example. And yeah, and a lot of base ingredients, like it doesn't take much to make a sauce that doesn't have any animal products in it, right? Just some slight modifications. And because of the spices that are in it, it's going to taste the same. And it just, if anything, like you said, it increases the profits. And then charging extra for any meat items, and this way it makes it flexible wherever everyone is eating, and it just makes it more appealing for people who are with that group.
Yes,
Or even if you're a vegan by yourself, or even with a group of vegans, as long as there's a nice variety of vegan choices that go beyond just a salad, people are going to be excited to go, whether they're vegan or not vegan.
Yes, and I think, I mean, it's a very successful chain in the UK. I would love to see more places like this.
Me too. There's a burger place in New York City. There's a chain. They have some in New Jersey and Connecticut also, but there's a lot of them in New York City called Bear Burger. And they're a non-vegan restaurant, but they have a vegan menu. So like they have like a section of the menu that's all vegan stuff. So they found a way to be inclusive for everybody. And it's also good for people who struggle with allergies, like they have gluten-free options. And so I think that's another benefit too, because if someone has a dairy allergy, they're going to be looking for vegan options, or an egg allergy. I've been finding more and more people are allergic to egg. And so yeah, if someone has an egg or dairy allergy, providing vegan options also is very helpful for them, because it can be very difficult for them to eat out because the risk of cross-contamination, or just, not having those options. So that's another way that it can benefit. What are some tips that you can share for any restaurants that could be watching that could help them find ways to include more vegan options in their menu?
Check out Wagamama menu. That would be my first one.
It's a good tip.
Regardless of the cuisine, you could do it with Mexican, with Italian. Yes, you can have a simple tomato sauce, and then if you want separate meat, just to add it. So I would say, as much as I'm vegan myself, I believe the future of dining will be less vegan restaurants and more mainstream restaurants with vegan options. So I think that will be the future everywhere. A lot of meat eaters will simply never visit vegan restaurant just because. And hence it's very important that those plant-based options in the mainstream restaurants are really exciting. It's not aglio olio. It's not garden salad with chopped tomato, cucumber, lettuce, and onion. If you want to have vegan guests, you cannot just accommodate them, you have to attract them. And think about whether you're a chef or a business owner. If you're looking at the garden salad, are you getting excited? Probably not. The chance that your guests again will get excited, very, very little. Do not sell it if you don't like it yourself. I met a lot of chefs, and recently I've been in that was a five-star hotel when the chef came himself, the head chef, who said he was going to prepare something for me, and he came with absolutely tasteless, wasn't even tomato sauce. It was really just a tin of tomatoes which were heat up, throw on the pasta. No spices, no basil, no onion, no garlic, nothing. Maybe a bit of salt.
Wow.
And I asked him after, did you enjoy it? And he said, no, I'm not vegan. And I tried to explain him, why do you think the vegans will enjoy it? It's not like that it's a sickness, that the whole plant-based, it's not a sickness that we don't have a taste buds, that we don't want to have the same profile of flavor from sour, sweet, savory, spicy, the same reflection what the regular food will have. So if you have a restaurant owner, think simply, are you excited with this dish? If you don't, do not put on the menu because your clients will be even less excited than you. And second, I would go for a lot of plant-based option by default. For example, I think nowadays it's so easy to find a good vegan ice cream. Why to have to separate? Why you need a vegan and non-vegan vanilla ice cream or chocolate ice cream? Uh, you want very often your guests will not tell the difference. It's easier for you from logistic point of view. It's easier to store it. It's eliminate risk of your or servers to make a mistake when they serve it, what is vegan, what is not. So the same with a lot of sauces, as you mentioned. I would make them vegan by default for everyone. It's less work and very often more money for you as a restaurant owner.
Those are all really good points. And the story you shared about, the unexciting meal that was prepared for you, I think there's this misconception that, oh, vegans just want lettuce, they want bland, boring food. As long as it doesn't have an animal product in it, they're going to enjoy it.
Yes.
And I just want to add a point to that is that vegans talk. So I'm on various vegan groups on Facebook. So whenever anyone is having a meal that they're excited about, they share it. Or actually on my Instagram too. Like whenever I go someplace and I have an exciting vegan meal, whether it's a vegan restaurant or not, I'm going to give that place a shout out and let people know that, hey, I just had this amazing vegan food at this place. And so if you want the vegan community to be excited and share and promote your restaurant, you're going to attract this whole other group of business, because vegans will travel for good food. Like I'll travel an extra 30 minutes to go for some really good vegan food. And there's a place where I live, about 45 minutes from where I live, and my husband and I were trying to think of something to do over the weekend, and we hadn't been there in a long time. It's not a vegan restaurant, but they have a lot of vegan options. They have, I would say, maybe almost half the menu has like vegan options, and then they also have vegan desserts. They have vegan desserts, non-vegan desserts, but they provide such a variety. So I felt like driving the extra 45 minutes just because I wanted to go someplace that was exciting with variety. They have really good food there. So yeah, vegans don't like boring food.
Nobody likes boring food. This is why I say there's no any difference between vegan and non-vegan person. Nobody likes boring food. And to have vegan options, it's not enough. You cannot just, I always say there is a difference between accommodate and attract. If you just accommodate them by having a vegan salad or vegan aglio olio, it doesn't attract anyone. It doesn't excite anyone. So having vegan option just for sake of having it, it's not enough. And you won't see the stream of vegan guests because of that.
I think that's a really good point you brought up, accommodating versus attracting. Um, that's a really good point, and all important things. Any restaurant owners out there watching, I hope you consider some of these tips. Well, it's been really nice having you here talking today. Before we wrap up, are there any resources you would like to share with anyone watching?
Well, I start always with my, as I say, vegan hero, Deliciously Ella, though it's not my resource. I think the simplicity of her recipes. She's not a trained chef. I think she started to publish her recipes as a student. Uh, I'm still, she's my default sort of person to go for the recipes. And if you are interested in more Asian Persian recipes, you can find them on my website. So I love Persian food, and there are a lot of Persian recipes on my website. And also there is an ebook to download with more whole food plant-based diet recipes. So you can go to my website.
That's really great. And what is your website?
So it's www.culinovaconsulting.com.
Great. And I'll also include your website link and your social media links in the notes below. So this way, anybody watching can easily connect with Anya. Yeah, this was really great. I'm so glad we had a chance to connect and have this conversation. And I wanted to thank you all for tuning in. And I will see you next time. Take care. Bye for
Thank,
now.
thank you.